Have you ever felt an inexplicable pull, a sense that something unseen was trying desperately to communicate with you? Perhaps a recurring dream, a misplaced object suddenly reappearing, or, well, perhaps a lone swan persistently tapping on your window? It sounds surreal, doesn't it? Almost like the beginning of a fable. What would you make of such an occurrence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm truly interested to hear your perspectives. And if this premise intrigues you even a little, a pre-video like would be a wonderful gesture. Let's delve deeper to see. The incessant tapping was the first sign that their carefully constructed world was about to crack. Not a frantic, accidental pecking, but a deliberate, rhythmic beat against the glass of the sunroom. Tap, tap, tap. It started just after dawn, a pale gray light filtering through the autumn leaves, illuminating dust motes dancing in the stillness. Inside, the Ashton family, Eleanor, a pragmatic architect with eyes that held a perpetual hint of worry. Franklin, a quiet astronomer lost more often in the cosmos than the present, and their daughter, Beatrice, a budding artist whose vibrant canvases often belied a melancholic spirit, were stirring into their usual Saturday morning routine. Eleanor, the first to notice, frowned. "Franklin, do you hear that?" He lowered his newspaper, a faint furrow in his brow. "Hear what, dear?" "The wind." "No, it's a tapping. Like someone at the door, but higher." She walked towards the sunroom, the tapping growing more insistent with each step. And then she saw it. A magnificent white swan, its long neck arched, its beak striking the glass with surprising force. Its dark eyes, intelligent and strangely urgent, seemed to fixate on her. Beatrice wandered in, drawn by her mother's unusual stillness. "What is it, Mom?" "Oh, a swan." She gasped, a mixture of awe and unease in her voice. "What's it doing?" Franklin joined them, his scientific curiosity piqued. "It seems rather determined." He observed the swan's posture, the way it held its wings slightly spread, as if poised for flight yet rooted to the spot. This wasn't normal behavior. Swans were graceful, aloof creatures, not persistent visitors at suburban windows. Days turned into a week, and the swan remained. It would appear each morning, just as the sun began to paint the sky with color and tap its insistent rhythm. It would stay for hours, sometimes preening its feathers, sometimes simply watching the house with that unnerving intensity, before finally flying off as dusk settled. The family tried everything to deter it: gentle shooing, closing the curtains, even a strategically placed scarecrow in the garden. Nothing worked. The swan always returned. A disquiet settled over the Ashton household. Eleanor found herself constantly glancing at the window, a knot of anxiety tightening in her chest. Franklin, initially intrigued, began to feel a creeping unease. Beatrice, however, felt a strange connection to the bird. She would sit by the window, sketching its elegant form, feeling a sense of unspoken communication passing between them. One afternoon, Beatrice noticed something new. Tied to the swan's leg, almost hidden beneath its feathers, was a small, tarnished metal cylinder. Her heart pounded. This wasn't just a persistent bird, this was a messenger. Getting close enough to retrieve the cylinder proved a challenge. The swan, while not aggressive, remained wary. It was Franklin, with his patient demeanor and gentle movements, who finally managed to coax the bird close enough. Inside the cylinder was a tightly rolled piece of parchment, brittle with age. Unfurling it with trembling hands, they found a single, faded word scrawled in elegant script: "Remember." Remember what? The question hung heavy in the air, thick with unspoken possibilities. Eleanor felt a chill despite the warmth of the sunroom. Franklin's brow furrowed in thought, his mind racing through forgotten memories. Beatrice felt a prickling sensation on her skin, a sense that this simple word held a profound significance, a key to something long buried. The following days were filled with a frantic search for meaning. They pored over old family photographs, dusted off forgotten journals, and revisited conversations from years past, searching for a clue, a forgotten incident that might connect to the swan and its cryptic message. There were whispers, half-finished sentences, and veiled glances exchanged between Eleanor and Franklin, hinting at a shared history, a secret they had long kept locked away. Beatrice sensed the shift in the atmosphere. the unspoken tension that now permeated their home. One evening, while looking through a box of her grandmother's belongings, Beatrice found it. A small, intricately carved wooden swan, identical to one her mother sometimes wore on a silver chain. Except this one had a tiny compartment hidden in its base. Inside, she found another piece of parchment, this one bearing a date and a location. Oak Haven Cemetery, November 12th. The date was just 2 weeks away. Eleanor and Franklin paled when Beatrice showed them her discovery. The color drained from Eleanor's face, and Franklin's usual calm demeanor fractured, replaced by a look of raw fear. We never told you about Oak Haven," Eleanor whispered, her voice trembling. "What happened there?" Beatrice asked, her voice barely a breath. The truth, when it finally came, was like a storm breaking after a long, suffocating silence. Years ago, a tragic accident had occurred near Oak Haven Cemetery, an accident that involved a close friend and a decision Eleanor and Franklin had made, a decision shrouded in guilt and regret. The details were hazy, painful to recount, but the underlying truth was clear. They had carried a heavy burden of unspoken remorse for years. The lone swan, they realized with a dawning sense of wonder and a touch of the uncanny, was no ordinary bird. It was as if their buried emotions had taken flight, manifested in this persistent, feathered messenger, urging them to confront their past. November 12th arrived, cold and bleak. The three of them stood before a weathered headstone in Oak Haven Cemetery, the name barely legible. A lone white feather lay at its base. As they stood there, a profound sense of peace settled over them, a quiet understanding passing between them. The years of unspoken guilt began to dissipate, replaced by a shared sorrow and a renewed commitment to honesty. The tapping on the window never resumed. The lone swan had delivered its urgent message, a message not of accusation, but of remembrance and the vital importance of confronting the shadows of the past. For it is only when we acknowledge our truths, however painful, that we can truly begin to heal and move forward, lighter and more connected. The lesson learned was clear. Secrets, like unaddressed grief, will always find a way to surface, often in the most unexpected and profound ways.